It is the BetSided early leans of the week for NFL and college football. Welcome in, everybody. Ben Heisler, joined by my guys Ian McMillan, Donovan Smoot, Peter Dewey, Reed Wallach here as well. Good to have you all back. Very good week for the team over in college football this week. Ended up going 4-1 in week number 9. Now 22-22-1 against the spread overall. So we're right back at that 500 mark. Also, NFL solid as well, 3-2 in week number 8. Now 23-15 against the spread overall as we continue here. And of course, if you're looking for even more plays, analysis, breakdowns, betting promos that you can find to help you out over at winbet.com, you can find all of that good stuff by going to fansided.com/betsided. So here's how it works. We'll go around the horn. We will break through with our favorite NFL leans of the week. We'll then move over into college football. So without further ado, I turn to my buddy Ian McMillan. Ian, you're looking at the Texans and the Dolphins. That sounds like a fun game to bet on. Not so much fun to watch, but the Dolphins are a 7-point favorite with a total of 46.
I tell you what, I've had this game circled on my calendar the entire football season. I can't wait. I'm losing sleep over it. It's going to be such an exciting and great game to watch. Obviously, I'm joking, but I'm taking the Texans +7 in this one. It's going to be an absolute toilet bowl of a game. But why, in the name of gambler or the gambling god, are the Miami Dolphins a touchdown favorite against any team in the NFL? 29th in average scoring margin, 31st in yards per play, 26th in opponent yards per play. I mean, the Texans' numbers aren't exactly great either, but the Dolphins do not deserve to be a touchdown favorite against any team in the NFL. Give me Texans +7, and if Tyrod Taylor plays, then I like this bet even more.
Yeah, Tyrod's expected to be back this week. Great opportunity. Although Houston has struggled really all over the place so far this year, but especially on the road, having Tyrod Taylor back could make a substantial difference. Donovan, I will go to you next. A game that the two of us actually have circled for some of our best bets, but we're going in different directions with the Cardinals and the 49ers. This line has actually moved. We saw this open with the 49ers +2.5 at home against Arizona. This line has shifted about 1.5 towards Arizona -1. So who do you like in this matchup?
I like Arizona. I know that Kyler might not play, but I'm gonna take a page out of Ian's playbook and I'm just gonna underreact. I really like Arizona. I think that as a roster, they're still, really well balanced. They still have a top 5 passing defense. Jimmy G, even last week, I know he threw for 300 yards. He had no touchdowns, no interceptions. He's just there. And in his last four starts, he has 4 interceptions. So I think if anything, he's hurting San Francisco more than he is helping. If Colt McCoy plays, I have a little bit of faith in Colt McCoy to get the job done. He went 1-1 as a starter last year in New York, and this is probably the most weapons he's had since he played at Texas. So I like Arizona, and as the line moves closer and closer to San Francisco, I like it better.
I should have known. Colt McCoy, former Texas Longhorns quarterback.
It wasn't even like that.
Everything's just coming up, Donovan.
I'll take it.
Everything's coming up, Donovan, on this one. Certainly an interesting call, and the points you make about Jimmy Garoppolo certainly are valid. Peter, let me go to you. Another intriguing hometown play, I suppose. The Denver Broncos +9.5 on the road, going to Jerry World to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Total in that game of 49.5, and somehow the Dallas Cowboys are 7-0 against the spread. Does it continue this week?
Ben Public Pete would normally say yes, but this week he's going to say no. I'm going to say no. I'm going to take the Broncos +9.5. And really this just has to do with Teddy Bridgewater. If you're taking the line that they got against the Browns in week 7, he is now 24-4 against the spread on the road in his career and 20-2 as a road underdog. I mean, that's really hard to go against, especially when you're getting 9.5 points. I know that the Cowboys have played really, really well this year. Obviously, they're undefeated against the spread. But you look at the Broncos, and the Broncos, even though they traded Von Miller away, they still have a solid defense. They're 9th in the NFL in yards per play. And the Cowboys are really not that great defensively, even though they've had some good showings. They allow the 5th most yards per play in the NFL. I don't think Denver's going to score a ton of points on them, but I think they hang around and keep it close. I'll take the points at 9.5 in this one.
At 9.5 is certainly a lot, even for a team like Denver, who just gave up Von Miller on the road. Reed, I'm going to you next. The LA Chargers in a bit of a funk, but they can try and fix the funk in Philadelphia. They are 2.5 point favorites on the road against the Eagles with the total coming in at 50. Who do you like here?
Yeah, a lot of quarterback questions around the league. So I haven't really played that many spreads, but I did play this total. I played the over 50. I think both offenses should have a day. Both are in the top 5 in EPA per play on the ground. And the Chargers, the worst defense in the same metric. And the Eagles, not much better, 24th. Both offenses fast, 5th, both top 5 in neutral situation, pace of play. So I think both offense are going to find success all afternoon. Big plays from Hurts and Herbert. And I think this game soars over.
Yeah, it's looking that way as well. I would imagine Justin Herbert in need of a bounce back, considering he was one of the co-favorites at MVP just a couple weeks ago. Certainly has taken a backseat to Josh Allen amongst others. All that, by the way, you can read up over at BetSided. For me, I talked about it just a minute ago. Donovan and I are on opposite sides here. I like the 49ers, especially the fact that you can get them at +1 at home against the Cardinals without Kyler Murray. I really liked it actually when it was back at +2.5, and we talked about that on the brand new Bet and Breakfast podcast. We talked about that with both myself, Reed, and Peter a little bit earlier on in the week. But I actually did see a bit of a breakthrough for San Francisco last week on the road. The Bears defense is certainly a top 10 defense up until last week. They've been playing really well, and especially in the first half, they had pressure generated on Jimmy G. They brought the house in. They were slowing down the run. And then all of a sudden in the second half, they had 3 consecutive scoring drives, got into the end zone multiple times. The offense just started to pick up. One of our guys wrote an article this week about Brandon Ayuk starting to get more in the mix over at BetSided, so that's another name that you have to watch out for. It just feels like the pieces now on the offensive side of the ball for San Francisco are starting to get back together. And even though Kyler Murray and Colt McCoy can maybe step in, it just feels like that's a substantial disadvantage, and the 49ers have played Arizona tough consistently over the last several years. So I will take the 49ers. Really loved them before the line move, but I still like them at +1. Also, I should mention the Bet and Breakfast podcast that's brand new. You can actually watch episodes right here on YouTube. Encourage you guys to go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Go ahead and like us, review us, do whatever it takes. We certainly appreciate all you guys being there with us and getting up with us on Monday and Thursday mornings as we debut our brand new podcast, Bet and Breakfast. All right, continuing on with our betting plays. Ian, I will go back to you when it comes to college football. You're looking at a matchup between Memphis. They are 6-point underdogs taking on SMU. Nice high total in this game of 70, and poor SMU having such a great season and then a heartbreaking loss last week against Houston.
Yeah, I'm going to back Memphis in this one, +6. I think it really comes down to each team's secondary because both teams love to throw the ball. They rank 30th and 32nd in the country in passing play percentage. Both of them over 65% of their offensive yards gained are through the air. But on the defensive side of the football, Memphis is a lot better in stopping the pass, 44th in the country in opponent yards per pass attempt, while SMU 116th in opponent yards per pass attempt. Teams are getting an average of 9 yards per pass against them. That's not a good recipe when you're facing a team that likes to throw the ball like Memphis. So I think Memphis is going to be able to keep this one close. I wouldn't be surprised if they win and hand SMU their second straight loss. So give me the Tigers +6.
All right, Tigers +6 for Ian. Donovan, I will go to you next. NC State against Florida State. Battle of 2 state schools in the SEC with the Wolfpack 3-point favorites against the Seminoles. Total in that game at 55.5. Where are you going for this one?
I'm going with North Carolina State. Like, I know we kind of hopped off the bandwagon after their loss to Miami, but again, that was only a 1-point loss. I'm not really that fazed by it. I like them this week. They won by double digits against Louisville last week. They're 2-1 against the spread. And North Carolina, NC State's defense is still really, really good. They're still top 15 in the country in points allowed. The offense is very, very competent. They put up close to 30 points a game. And where I think this game can kind of get, away from Florida State is in terms of turnover margin. NC State is top 20 in the country. Florida State is 99th in the country in turnover margin. I think if North Carolina State can get a little bit of pressure, can force a couple mistakes from the Seminoles, this game should be pretty, cut and dry.
All right, so Wolfpack at -3 in that matchup from Donovan. Peter, I head to you next. Another Big Ten game on the slate, and I was looking at this line and felt very perplexed. Feels like a bit of a trap game on the way for Michigan State. Huge home win last week against the University of Michigan. They've remained undefeated, but Purdue starting to be a little bit sneaky. Michigan State only a 3-point road favorite in this game with a total of 53.5. Any concerns that this is a bit of a trap for Michigan State?
I mean, there's definitely concern, Ben, but Michigan State's a good football team. I've been riding with them all year. I'm going to ride with them again this week at getting just 3 points on the road. I think, like, you look at that game last week against Michigan, obviously the comeback win, Kenneth Walker, absolutely unbelievable, 5 touchdowns. They've proven all year they're a good football team. They're a good covering football team. They're 6-1-1 against the spread. I think as good as Purdue looked when they beat Iowa, they have not looked as good the last 2 weeks. They got blown out by Wisconsin. They were trailing Nebraska at the half the week before. I'm not sure. I bet on the Boilermakers when they played Wisconsin. They came back to Birmingham. I just don't think that they're good enough to be a Michigan State team that has proven it deserves to be a top 5 team at this point in the year. Purdue allows 141 yards on the ground to opponents. That's going to be Michigan State's calling card. It's a big Kenneth Walker game. Give me them -3 in this one.
Especially if you believe it's a big day out of Kenneth Walker, that -3 should suit you well. Reed, I will head to you next. A very intriguing game between 2 dynamic offenses. You have Liberty coming to Ole Miss. Liberty +9.5 in the Hugh Freeze revenge game, which was not something that I had anticipated thinking about coming into today, but here we are. Are you buying the narrative that the Flames might be able to come in and slow down Matt Corral, Lane Kiffin, and the Ole Miss Rebels?
That's all I've been thinking about. The Hugh Freeze revenge.
I'm not surprised.
This is perfect for me. But no, I faded Ole Miss last weekend. It feels like I've been kind of just against them all year. I think that they're a little overrated in the market, mainly because of their defense. 121st in defensive success rate, outside the top 100 in tackling. I can't buy a team that, sure, they have a souped up offense, but Matt Corral with a bum ankle, he had to leave the Auburn game in the first half last week, came back, was not effective. The offense is running out of gas. And how are they getting up for this Liberty game? They just played, I mentioned this last week, they played Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn in a row. Now they have Liberty coming in. This is just a sandwich spot that they're not going to get up for this game. There's a chance Corral's maybe on some sort of snap count to protect his ankle for the rest of the season. So Liberty with Malik Willis, this is still a really good offense. I know they play an easier schedule, but 26 in EPA per play on the ground, 16th in pass. I mean, Liberty, they might be live to win this game if Ole Miss really takes their foot off the gas and doesn't care. So I love getting more than a touchdown, and I might be looking to sprinkle on the money line.
Yeah, Liberty's been very impressive over the course of the season. Ole Miss has too at times, but they've certainly let a few golden moments slip away for them. For me, guys, I'm looking at a game, not necessarily, I think it might be actually the highest total on the board with UNC and Wake Forest. But another one of those games, I talked about it with Peter's play, Michigan State and Purdue. Seeing Michigan State only favored by 3 points kind of feels a little bit odd. You almost wonder if there's a trap. I think there is a bit of a trap with this game between Wake Forest and UNC. Tar Heels losing a rough game last week on the road at Notre Dame, but now they're at home against an undefeated Wake Forest team in the ACC, and UNC is favored by 2.5 points, despite them being 4-4 this year. Wake Forest undefeated. The books, I just feel like they know something that we don't hear. UNC, certainly from a talent perspective, I think they weigh out. Wake Forest still is one of the more dynamic offenses in the country. But I think in light of that, UNC finds a way. They're still actually alive in the Coastal Division with Pittsburgh losing this weekend. So I wouldn't surprise me. I think a lot of people are going to see this line. A lot of the public is going to say, well, why wouldn't I take Wake Forest plus the points? To me, I think you go the opposite way. I think you follow the sports books who will likely need North Carolina to win this week. I will side with the books. I will side with the folks over at WinBet most likely and take UNC at -2.5. And it wouldn't surprise me, by the way, if this line moves all the way up to -3. There you go, guys. Those are our leans for college football week 10. Can't believe it's already week 10 in college football and week 9 for the NFL. We are at the halfway point already. Been having a lot of fun with you guys here every week on YouTube and wherever else you guys find all these different videos breaking down our best bets. Again, for more information, more plays, analysis, breakdowns, promos, picks, and more, head on over fansided.com/betsided and make sure you guys are following us on social as well. At BetSided on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. So long, everybody.